And we're back. Let's get into it. So I watched this episode. I haven't watched a new episode yet. But after watching the men tell all, I'm just like, is this all we're getting of Luke? Are we not going to get any more of him in the new episode? Because if this is it, then I'm a little disappointed. Because I feel like they were showing so much. And then Chris Harrison was just like, oh, we're going to get the aftermath of that on the final episode of The Bachelorette. But I'm just like, why would you even show us this concerning Luke? Maybe it's because he was going to have like this sit down with Luke. Maybe that's it. But I didn't want that to be spoiled yet for me. How did you guys feel about that? Were you okay with them showing Luke get cut on the men tell all? Listen, if they did that because there's something even more explosive on the current episode, then okay. But I kind of felt cheated. I was just like, don't show us this now. This is the men tell all. Show us next week and make it a little longer. Do what you have to do, but don't show us now. I don't know how I felt about that. We'll see. I may change my mind when I watch the current episode. Who knows? You know what? It just hit me. I now understand why Hannah cut Luke and we saw her cutting him on this episode. It's because Chris wanted to confront him here. He wanted the men to confront him because, let's be honest, Luke, unfortunately, was the star of this season and there were a lot of questions that needed answers. And I guess it was going to be good TV with the men coming after him. That's what I think, because I'm just like, why would you guys cut him and then bring him here to the men tell all if you're not going to do that for the other men? But I think it's because he was such a controversial character that he needed to be confronted at the men tell all. I get it now. I totally understand it. I just didn't like it because it seemed out of order for me. And you know what? I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. Because I remember from the first episode when we saw that season trailer, I said Luke is going to be the one that is going to judge her about having sex before marriage. And you guys were like, no, it's going to be Megamind. It's not going to be Luke. It's going to be Jed because he comes from a very conservative background as well. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, I'm a church girl, baby. I know these dudes. It's going to be Luke. And here we are. Here we are. I can't believe that she wasted a good outfit on this dude. I mean, I love this outfit. Those silver hoops that, what was it? It wasn't chartreuse. What is that color? Coral, that coral neon pleather biker jacket. Yes, she looked sickening. Sickening. And I really felt bad for her because I felt like when she was sitting here at this dinner with him, she was really like sincere. Like she really wanted to get to know him, and Luke just shot himself in the foot where he's just like, and let's be real, right? In the real world, this would make sense for a man to say something like this, or anybody to say something like this. It's just like, me and you were on a date. You can't go and have sex with 3 people and then have me at the end to decide if you want to be with me. Like, nobody will say yes to that in the normal world. But this is the Bachelorette. Like, this is how they do it. And like even Hannah said at the men tell all, fantasy suites are not always used for sex. Listen, I notice what everybody says. The fantasy suites, so we're just getting to know each other. It doesn't necessarily have to be sex. I get that, right? But this show makes it seem like sex is actually happening. You know what I mean? Like, this show sets up the fantasy suites for sex. So that's what we're thinking and expecting to happen. So when Hannah says that that's not necessarily what happens, okay, fine. I get that's what you're saying, but the show that you were on, honey, that's how this whole thing is set up. Like, they make it seem like some bumping and grinding is going to be happening in these fantasy suites. They show you the next day, you're all disheveled. Rachel's eyelashes was all over the place. Peter's hair was disheveled. Like, it looked as if some sex had happened, okay? So let's not play games here. We know what it is. Sit up there and act like all you did in them fantasy suites was play Uno with the men. But girl, we know better. It finally happens. We finally get to see Hannah Beast get rid of Luke. You cheer, you're elated, you pray, you thank the Lord, and then he comes back after she cuts him. I didn't like this. I really, really didn't, because I just felt like I said before in my last review, this was giving me like stalker vibes. She said no and he would not leave. Like, he comes back and she looks mortified when she sees him after she told him no, after this dude embarrassed her, after she said, I can't be with you, you need to go. After all of this, he still comes back, and she was mortified. And I felt like she was actually looking around to see if somebody would get him. Even the men. I felt like Hannah was waiting for somebody to do something, and none of the guys did anything until Tyler. Not until Tyler took those first 2 steps to go after Luke, to remove him, because Luke would not leave. He would not take no for an answer. She said no. She told him to leave. She did not want to talk to him. She even moved the podium, and the dude still would not go. He still would not leave, and it just felt uncomfortable watching. How did you guys feel about that? Because I was watching the studio audience, and I just felt like they were trying to make it seem like this was women's empowerment, but it wasn't. Because this is her show, right? If she doesn't want to do there, he shouldn't be there, and production should respect that. You know what I mean? Shouldn't let him come back. The first time that she saw him and she was just like, what are you doing here? Go. They should have had security round that dude up and leave, because this is her castle. You know what I mean? This is her kingdom. She is the queen. What she says goes. But because it was good TV, y'all let that dude badger her until she was just so uncomfortable and near tears. And I was just like, this ain't women's empowerment to me. This is an uncomfortable situation that every woman has been in, and we hate being in this situation. And I'm watching it like, wow. And then they cut shots of women in the audience like, yeah, get him, girl, girl power. And I'm like, y'all need to read the book on feminism again, because this ain't it. This is not women's empowerment, sitting up here on your own damn show trying to get rid of a dude that won't leave. Like, what kind of power is that? I felt like in that moment that she felt very helpless. And it just, I don't know. Guys, it was so uncomfortable for me to watch that. I was screaming at my TV like, leave. Where is security? And I honestly will say, I won't say that the men were punks. You know, I won't say that they were cowards. I do feel like, especially Jed, I felt like he was waiting for somebody to do something. You know what I mean? And it took Tyler stepping out for the men to like finally join him and remove Luke. Can we just talk about real quick, since we're here, how the men reacted to Luke when he walked up? See, the guys didn't know that Hannah had already cut him. So when he walked up, Tyler was just like, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? Pilot Peter, being the kind gentleman he is, you know, did the little good guy frustration thing. But it was like, you know, Pilot Peter, so sweet, so gentle, so kind, such a good pick. Hannah's not picking him. And then you see Jed, who is not only annoyed, he's like pissed off, he's angry. He's just like, I can't believe that I'm still competing with this dude. Like, I can't believe that this dude is on my level in her eyes. And I'm telling you guys, I get him. It makes sense to me. I would feel some sort of way too if a dude cannot pick between me and trash. I would be like, well, what the hell am I showing? Or what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? So I felt him. I felt Jed in that moment. He was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Hannah? Can you not see this? They didn't know that she saw it already. They finally got it towards the end, but I was just like, guys, she's moving the podium. She's telling this dude she doesn't want to be here. Where y'all at? Because at this point, you still auditioning for the job. Okay, we're going to have a Christian moment. Because I always do. Let's talk about how Hannah said she thanked God that he removed the soul tie that she had with Luke. Sis, that wasn't a soul tie. You did not have a soul tie with Luke. You're using that improperly. Luke to you was a familiar spirit. That's exactly what he was. He was something that you recognize. You were taught in church that is the man of God that you need to choose to be your husband. He said everything. He did everything to make you believe that he was the one, because that, as a young woman in church, is what you were trained to believe is the kind of man that God created for you. You were struggling with your faith and with your discernment. That is what was happening, because you could not understand the dude that lined up with everything that you should choose in a man biblically on paper was not working out with your spirit. You were uncomfortable. He was a darkness. He was draining. He was making you confused. You were crying. You were distraught, and you felt some sort of way because you were just like, the man of God, this is the one. He shouldn't make me feel this way, because that's not him. He was familiar. You were taught that was it, and he was that dude on paper. He was not that in spirit and mind and in heart. Luke, unfortunately, is a victim of false teaching, because whatever he is being taught is destroying this dude. They are making him a monster. That ain't the Lord, okay? That judgmental, demeaning, psycho, like that ain't the God I serve. That ain't the God I know. I don't know what Luke is over there doing, but I promise you, it ain't Christ. It ain't. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb, a sure limb, and say that. Because what this dude was doing on this TV, in no way did it magnify God. It was, I feel bad for him because I understand. I've been under teaching like that. I know people who are still under that kind of teaching. It's really tough to get out under that because you're being taught to believe a certain way. But what happens is the Spirit of God in you cannot align up with this foolishness. So you're fighting, I'm getting real. I'm getting real biblical on this comedy page, but I'm just saying there are things, we call it discernment. There are things within inside of you, your spirit, that is just not, you know how some people say, something was telling me that this wasn't it. As Christians, you believe that it's the spirit of discernment telling you like, no, this isn't right. This isn't what you should do. This is what you need to be doing. You know, we call it common sense. We call it spidey sense. We call it intuition. You know what I mean? So everybody watching this, very few people sided with Luke. Those people got problems, okay? We all knew that something was up with this dude because it wasn't even in what was being filmed. Like, Luke wasn't given a bad edit. He was given an honest edit. See him at the mental law when Chris Harrison sits down with him and the dude doesn't regret anything. He's fine. Like, he's okay with how he was portrayed because he believes that he was right and everybody else is false and demonic and wrong, when he doesn't realize that the devil that he's looking for is him. You got to look in the mirror, bro. So that is what Hannah was dealing with. She was dealing with what she was being taught and trying to make that reality within Luke, trying to make him this man that she read about on paper she was taught to look for at whatever church that she was at or whatever. You know what I mean? Because I get that. You're a church girl like me. A lot of you are, and we have talked about it, you know, on Instagram, on Twitter, you know, right here on YouTube. We all have experienced a guy like Luke, or we all have been taught to look for a guy like Luke. And then you get around a guy like that and you realize that if this is what the Lord wants for me, I'll choose death. You know what I mean? You're just like, Elton and all, I'll be single to the day I die. But if this is what God has for me, I'm okay. I'm okay being single. And then you start to like really break things down and you realize that this ain't God. This cannot be. Not the God who loves me. This cannot be who he wants for me. Some controlling dude, some manipulative dude, some dude that when he walks in the room, darkness just overtakes the room and nobody wants to be around him. Luke was poison to that entire cast. What in the Jesus Christ is not in this room is going on here? Because that ain't God. That ain't God, and the poor kid can't even see it. I don't know if he ever will. Because a lot of church people like Luke like to stay secluded. They like to stay in the little towns. They like to stay within their community. They don't like to mix because when you get out, you start seeing the world differently. You start questioning things and you start realizing truths and you start realizing that you was lied to and you start breaking out and you start getting from under that bondage and you become a real person, not some robotic, Bible thumper. You know what I mean? And I don't know. He may change if he continues to stay within this Bachelor world. If he doesn't, if he gets out of Bachelor Nation and goes back to that devout compound that he was raised on, he might become worse. He might become worse. Who knows? Who knows? But the God in me lets me know that we got to keep that kid in prayer. Because it's really sad to see. Because it's easy to sit up here and crack jokes on a dude, right? But it takes a lot of work to humble thyself, to look within and be like, you know what, I was there. I hope you can get out because there's so much beautiful on the other side of ignorance, So keep him in your prayers, guys. He's trash right now. Who knows? Who knows? Prayer can move mountains. So, let's move Luke. Moving on. Can the church say amen? Let's get to this Chris Harrison and Luke sit down. So Chris Harrison calls out Luke, and I'm telling you, that studio audience was full. 3 people clapped for him. 3 people. Wow. Wow. I was even shocked. I was like, oh, they didn't even give him, the Bachelor Nation pity claps. It was like, oh, nothing, right? He sits down with Luke and they start talking about how he was judging Hannah about having sex. Here's the kicker. Luke ain't no virgin. Not at all. And Chris was just like, isn't that like a double standard? And he's like, well, no, I know what I want and a why. Them just going back and forth and not making any kind of sense. Listen, okay? Jesus paid it all. There is nothing that can separate you from the love of Christ. So I don't know what all this crap that Luke is talking because she did this and that. She's not good enough. She's not a good partner for him. Excuse you? She's a better partner than you will ever in your life get to date, get to breathe next to. You will be so lucky to have a woman like this. But you won't, because this is what's going to happen. Luke is going to go back to that devout compound. He's probably going to marry some 19-year-old who is still under that teaching, who's going to be on the Bachelor Nation Facebook page, fighting everybody that says anything negative about him, who has a Twitter page, but she's not that active. Her profile picture is a picture of her holding a puppy with an American flag in the background. In her bio, it conveniently says that blacks kill more blacks than whites. Hashtag mega. Yeah, that's who you're going to marry. I'm telling you. That is exactly who he's going to marry. Stay woke. I know y'all got all the tea. I know you're going to let me know in about 2 years that that's who Luke married. Some 19-year-old brunette chick with a big forehead and questionable views. I know what I'm talking about. Then Luke tries to cry for sympathy and it doesn't work. Like, he tries to push these tears out. Nothing comes out. He's doing whatever he can to garner sympathy from the audience because he realizes that they're not on his side, but it's not working. So he goes back to being toxic Luke because Chris Harrison makes a comment about him basically not being the one to be able to even judge Hannah because he's not squeaky clean himself. And he tries to explain that. But while he's explaining that, somebody, like one random audience member, and we get a shot of her, claps to be like, yes, Chris, get him. And the side eye that Luke gave that woman, I was just like, what was you gonna do to that woman? Because the look he gave her was just like, you better shut up and get quiet. And you know what she did? Like, that stare down got her right together because he stared at her for like a good 3 seconds. And then he went on into his conversation with Chris. His stare was so powerful that the lady was just like, what? Like, she got scared. Something not right with that dude. Something is not right. And I feel like he's coming from a place where all the men are like him. Run. Run. Any girl in that town, near that compound, in that compound, if you can get free, run. I am very happy that Devin wanted to have a moment, right? It just was such a uneventful moment. Like, Chris is still trying to talk to Luke to, like, I think Chris, to be honest with you, was trying to make this dude look redeemable, was trying to get like something good out of him, but nothing was happening. And so Devin walks up looking like the Valentine's Day mascot, okay? Because this whole outfit, I was like, no, bro, no, this combination is not working for you. He walks up. First of all, the suit jacket is so tight, he has to unbutton it to sit down comfortably. And he tries to like shade Luke. And I get it, right? I get what he was trying to do. He just wasn't the one to do it. The way he did it was so like blah. You know what I mean? I was just like, okay, Devin, thank you so much. You had your moment. Go back to the rest of the men because, baby, this was a waste of time. So all the men looking good finally come out after Devin like has his moment. They all sit down and Luke is still on the stage. So Connor, my baby Connor, he starts talking to Luke. And I feel like the way Connor is talking is making me believe that he's going to say something, I gotta be honest, very kind to Luke. But he goes through all of this, like this whole monologue. And at the end he goes, so F you, Luke. I wasn't ready, but I was pleased. Go ahead, Connor. Mateo. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that Mateo just wanted to say something because he wanted camera time and not like he really was defending Luke. Because even what he said about Luke was just like, that didn't help the situation. You know what I mean? Like, you just did not say anything redeeming about him. You were just saying that he was still awful and maybe he'll learn. And it was like, You didn't need to say that. I just feel like Mateo just wanted something to say, because I felt like if he didn't say anything, he wouldn't have said anything the whole reunion, and nobody remembers him anyway. So he probably wanted to be like, let me just get some camera time so my mom could know that I was on the Men Tell All. If not, the camera would have never panned to him. Jonathan too. I thought that Jonathan was going to say something nice about Luke. He was like, yeah, Luke, we bonded in our faith, but I just, you are not going about this the right way. This has nothing to do with our faith. Like, he was basically saying, you do not represent any form of Christianity. I swear, these guys were starting off this conversation, and I'm thinking they're leading me one way, and they just take me down a whole nother path, which I can respect. I can respect it. I was shocked, but I was like, you know what? Y'all made points. Points were made. Enough of Luke. Let's get to some fun stuff. John Paul Jones, who was the breakout star. He was the grocery store Joe of this season. And I'm happy for him. Why not? He's a great guy. He was so sweet and so humble. He even dealt with this like weird random girl that came up to cut his hair. Like, it was supposed to be like some random chick walking up, but this random chick was mic'd and had scissors. So I was just like, okay, definitely a PA or somebody who's working in production, because there's no way that you're getting through security on the ABC lot with scissors, okay? There's no way they're letting you walk up to their talent with scissors. There's no way that they're micing everybody in the audience. So this was clearly set up, but John Paul Jones handled it like a champ, and I'm happy for him. I am happy for him. He's a fun guy. He's a good guy, and I think he deserves all the greatness coming to him. I wonder, and let me know if you guys know, does The Bachelor in Paradise film before the Men Tell All? Because I'm confused. Because Mike, a lot of his questioning, he was answering questions or like trying to steal scenes, like he was campaigning for The Bachelor. But I'm like, if you've already been to Paradise, then you know that that crown is kind of far from you. So why are you working so hard, if not to get that role? Let me know if you guys know, because I felt like, I love me some Mike. Y'all know I do. I felt like he was doing the most. He was doing the most, and it felt like he was doing this to be The Bachelor, but he's in Paradise, so he's clearly not, right? Or can you be The Bachelor or The Bachelorette straight from Paradise? Has that ever happened? Let us just know in the comment section below. You know what? I'm so glad that Luke did us all a favor and left the stage, because even when Hannah came out, the Men Tell All was all about him. I felt like he had more sit-down time with Chris Harrison than Hannah, who is a freaking Bachelorette. I feel like this happens all the time with the women. The men just steal the spotlight from their show. The same thing happened with Becca, and here we are again with Hannah and her season. Another dude is stealing the spotlight, and it's just, I don't know. I just feel like this always happens with the women. Let me know if this is something that you guys have noticed, but I'm like, why are we spending all of this time on Luke? Yes, he was the star of the season. He was fun to drag, okay? He was interesting to drag. Like, it was a lot going on with him every episode. I get it. Still Hannah's show, right? She should have had more time. Anyway, she comes out looking buffed and tanned. I said, okay, sis, you are using that ABC money and putting it to good work. She looked great. She looked great. But a lot of it was about Luke, and I felt like Luke's feelings were getting hurt, because I think Hannah watched the season and was just like, I look like an idiot. I look like an idiot. And she was probably very angry from what she saw Luke doing that she didn't see. And so all of these emotions were coming out when she got on stage and she confronted Luke about it. Even when she wasn't talking to Luke, she was talking about him to Chris Harrison or to the men. And then she even told America that she was sorry, that, you know, what she did was not right. And women need to watch this and be like, you know what? This is what I should look for in a man to stay away from. Like, Hannah really, she laid it out. I was proud of her, but I was just like, ooh, right in front of Luke. Okay, girl, yes. Let's get some cojones and do it. So I get that Luke was a little frustrated by that, but you couldn't sit through that, dude. You tormented her for what, 6 months? And you couldn't sit through her realizing that you was garbage and apologize to the audience for us watching this mental abuse go on for like how many episodes, and not being able to get a resolution or have her see the light of day until the very end? We were owed an apology. Luke couldn't take it, so he got up and left. And what I loved about this is that they paid him dust. Nobody cared that Luke left. not the audience, not Chris, not Hannah, not the men. Even when he got up, Chris was just like, okay, so Hannah. I was like, they were sick of him. They really, really were. I don't know. Do you guys think that he's going to show up in Paradise? They did not show him in any of the trailers. If he shows up in Paradise, whoo, it's going to be good TV. It's going to be good TV. I could see Luke now beating everybody over the head with the Bible and telling them to put on clothes and stop lusting after each other, and then getting beat up by the bartender and all the men. Maybe he was the dude that was fighting. Remember in the Bachelor in Paradise? I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the Bachelor in Paradise, y'all. I saw that trailer and I was just like, I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care what's going on. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not stopping or, catching up on episodes later. I am going to stick with that freaking show. That trailer giving us homeless realness. Let me tell you something. I'm not missing an episode. I'm not missing an episode. Mark my words. That trailer was sickening and it deserves every review. You know what? After thinking about it, they have to put Luke in Paradise. Like, how could you not? How could you not? Ratings gold. Anyway, this episode, The Men Tell All, ends with, I don't know why I did that. The Men Tell All. Child, I went to Philly for like a few days and I came back. Ghetto. Anyway, this episode ends basically with Mike and Hannah. Mike at least trying to get that closure and Hannah giving him the closure that she believed that he needed. But this is what I think, guys. I really think that Hannah, it could either be two things. Either she really felt for him and knew that she couldn't bring him home. That is what all that emotion was from. Or she either knew that he was a really good guy and that she wasn't feeling anything for him and she felt bad because he was a good guy and she wished she could have felt the same thing that he felt to make it work. It could be two of those things. What do you think it is? Do you think that Hannah was so heartbroken by Mike leaving? Because guys, she was not this heartbroken about anybody else. But Mike, Hannah was distraught. So do you think it's because she realized that she probably couldn't bring him home? Or realizes that she just did not have the same feelings for him that he had for her? Both are very plausible. Which one do you think it is? Let us know in the comment section below, and I will see you for the following review, the finale of The Bachelorette. It's been a fun ride. I've been watching it and keeping up. I haven't been doing a review with you guys, but that ends today. Let me tell you something. I promise you, the only way I will miss a review of The Bachelor in Paradise is if I'm sick. That's the only way. That is the only way. I'm not missing it for work, for nothing. If I'm sick, that's the only reason why I'm not here, and I'll still give y'all a review that week because this show is going to be good. I can't wait. They got a good cast. This was some good casting this season. I cannot wait. Anyway, let me know what you think about this episode in the comment section below, and I will see you soon for the season finale of The Bachelorette. Love you guys.